Hello, everybody. Ella Jaye here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I am joined by your Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Champion, the Law of Attraction, Journey Burke. How are you today?
I'm good, Ella. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's a little hot, not gonna lie. It's in the midst of summer here in the Northeast, and it's been relentless for the last month. I'm sure it's about the same where you are. So, we're surviving, but you're also thriving. Before we get into anything wrestling, you are the law of attraction. So, what are some things that you're hoping to attract or manifest into your personal and or professional life right now?
Well, I don't think my personal life exists. My personal life is my professional life
Fair.
at this point. So everything is wrestling right now. So obviously, like every wrestler, I want to manifest a contract. That would be pretty cool. I'd love to get signed. But also really just manifesting, being able to in any way make a living from wrestling, whether that be, in the ring or some other capacity. I just love the industry. I love being around. So I guess also manifesting, learning other skills. Something I'm really into is fashion and gear. So I'd love to be able to learn how to make gear. And I'm starting that process. I'm in the very baby steps and like looking for a sewing machine so I can learn how to sew. So pretty much anything wrestling related, we're manifesting, we are attracting, we are hoping, praying, sending out vibes, whatever or whatever you want to call it. We're doing all of those things. So
Absolutely. We'll talk gear a little bit later, but you kind of alluded to it. I know you are trying to make pro wrestling full time for you, and a big step I know was stepping down from your firm job back in February, I believe. You're still working a couple of other jobs in addition to wrestling, from what I understand. But how has that transition been for you, stepping down from something that has been kind of a constant for you for several years since? I have to imagine even before wrestling came into your life.
yeah, so I worked at my firm for about 5 years
Yeah.
before I decided that it was time for me to leave. And even before I started wrestling, it was really not, it's not as glamorous as Suits would make it seem to be, or any type of law TV
Yeah.
show. I don't even watch law TV shows because it's just too much to stimulate my brain at that time.
Yeah.
But so it was really taxing, it was really draining. And obviously it was a really hard decision because it was something that I had worked for I mean, college and then through law school. And like I decided I was going to be a lawyer when I was 14 years old. So I was working for it for a very long time. And it just was not giving back the way that I needed it to. So as I got more into wrestling, I was realizing that I was sacrificing a lot of potential wrestling opportunities just because I was afraid to lose my firm job. I was afraid to, not perform as well at work, or I was just really afraid that people would judge me for wrestling kind of as well in the law firm, and they didn't, but they were very cool about it. Um, but it was terrifying because I kind of was having, a little bit of an existential crisis, as one does, as we all
Yeah.
do. I'm a millennial, so I won't speak for you, but we're all
I'm
going.
I'm I'm a zillennial. I'm a 97 baby, so I'm that awkward in between, not technically millennial, not technically Gen X or
Right.
Gen Z, whatever. Close enough though. Yeah, go on.
And I guess it depends on what your definition of millennial it
Yeah.
is. I'm 95, so like I'm also right on the cusp, but I've always said I'm a millennial because I have
Yeah.
older siblings and just always been in the older side of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But anyways, we're all going through it. We're all having existential crises every single day. But I kind of defined myself as a lawyer. I was always defining myself by my academic pursuits, all of those types of things. And I never really defined myself as a wrestler or an athlete of any kind. So it was a big shift from how do I think about myself internally. And then externally, it was also a big shift because I just had so much more time to accept opportunities. I could travel further if I wanted to. I could, say, okay, I'll go to training and stay afterwards till midnight if I need to, because I don't need to be up at 5 a.m. the next day. So it was both freeing and terrifying at the same time.
I'm so curious if you don't mind me asking, what kind of lawyer, because I know there's all different branches and stuff, what kind of lawyer were you exactly in your work?
Yeah, so I did commercial civil litigation. Just a long way of saying that anytime anybody got sued, it was me on the front lines. I didn't really deal with individuals a lot. It was more businesses. So if businesses had, products that were messed up or somebody didn't fulfill a contract, those are the types of things that I usually dealt with. And the litigation part is the courtroom stuff.
Yeah.
So, I was always in and out of the courtroom, traveling around the entire state of Pennsylvania. Like I had gone to Philadelphia, went to Pittsburgh like regularly, so I was kind of always on the go, putting a lot of miles on my car that way, as well as through wrestling. So
I've
yeah.
seen videos of your car filled up with your wrestling stuff and lawyer stuff if you had like a trial the next morning or whatever. I'm like, kudos to you. I think I might go insane, but you held it down for a while, I must say. So you should be proud of that. Obviously, life has a lot of twists and turns. You started out going to law school, and now here you are in professional wrestling. I went to school for psychology. Now here I am in professional wrestling. It's just something about it. It sways us.
It really does. I mean, something, well, I'm sure we'll get to more stuff
Yeah.
later. Like one of the things that really helped me just kind of go all in was listening to interviews of other wrestlers, and especially wrestlers who are on TV, and they would
Yeah.
just basically talk about how they were sucked in. They really didn't have another choice because wrestling was all that they could think about. It was all that they wanted to do. And there was just nothing else that brought them the same feeling. And that was how I was feeling. And I was like, you know what? I have to do it. I have to try. So, it seems like it's that way for a lot of people in the industry. Again, whether you're in the ring, whether you're interviewing or
Yeah.
writing, doing all of those types of things, it does have something special about it.
Since obviously you still are a lawyer, you still have your degree, your title, and everything, you're just not as active in it right now. So, what does your weekly schedule look like now between wrestling and any other like shoot jobs, as we call them, you might have?
Yeah, so during the school year, I work as a substitute teacher. So I will be in school. Obviously, right now, like we were talking about earlier, it's hot, it's summer, so
Yeah.
kids out of school. So right now it's pretty boring. Um, so during the school year, I'll usually work 5 days a week unless I have something else coming up. And just sitting, watching the kids, make sure nobody dies. And then I do also work part-time remotely at a small firm, and I do that basically on an hourly basis. So, anytime a project comes in, my boss will basically say, "Hey, do you have time for this?" And if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. So the summer has been pretty chill, pretty relaxed. And then the other stuff I'm trying to focus on now that I have a little bit more time is like content creation, I guess, for social media,
Yeah.
and just to the gym, a lot of gym time. So
It's definitely that time. It's summertime, and I've seen you popping off on Instagram and TikTok a little bit. It,
try.
it it's hard, but you're making it work. I guess that's also another positive is like you said, you have a little bit more free time to explore more avenues and social media. Like a lot of people have benefited from that, especially in the indie space when you're trying to stand out and promote yourself. So it can be fun, but you can also work it to brand yourself and market yourself and get your name out there more too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially now with the caliber of women's wrestling that's on the indie scene, it's insane. So,
Yeah.
having some type of presence, I think is very important. And just being able to give a space for people to connect with you. I have people who follow me from across the country who, might watch my videos on YouTube or watch, certain promotions that I'm in from on IWTV. So our world isn't necessarily tied to the territories that we're in. It's everywhere. Your audience is everywhere. So who knows who's going to see your match on YouTube or whatever. So I think that to me, that's why social media is so important, because it's connecting with your fans, it's connecting with potential opponents, it's connecting with potential promoters, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we will plug you all your socials at the end of this. But you mentioned that, you wanted to be a lawyer since you were 14 years old. If you look back even further, even younger journey, what did she envision herself doing for a career when she got older? Because I know you didn't start watching wrestling till 2020, till you were in your 20s. Lawyerdom is not a word, but the dream of being a lawyer came at 14. What was your like younger years? What did you maybe envision yourself doing when you got older?
So the very first job that Baby Journey wanted was to be a fashion designer, which is just, another kind of full circle moment,
Yeah.
because I like to design my own gear. And that was just something I just always loved it. I mean, you probably can't tell from most of my social media posts because I just stay in gym wear all the time. But I mean, I love thrifting. I love trying to do some DIY type stuff with my clothing, and just, building my own wardrobe with really cool and unique pieces. So I would draw all the time. I would draw clothing. I was not good at drawing, mind you, but like, you didn't have to like draw
It looked
people.
good in your brain at least.
Right.
Yeah.
I can put it on paper to where somebody who is way more talented than I am can make
Hmm.
it a thing. But yeah, when I was younger, I drew outfits all the time. Barbie, Polly Pocket, all that stuff. My favorite part was just dressing them up.
Yeah.
So I really, really wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I don't know where the change happened, but after that, probably, and at some point in my life, somebody told me that I had to be realistic or something like that. And I decided I was going to be a teacher. And then as I got older, I realized, maybe not so much, because I don't have that kind of patience. Like,
Yeah.
God bless, because now that I'm a substitute teacher, I get it. And that's
I have a
another.
couple teacher friends. I hear stories. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I realized I do not have the patience for that. And then that's when lawyering came into the picture. So it's been, it's a strange combination of things, I think. But to me, they all made sense at the time. So, and now wrestling.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of all ties in together in a weird way because you have a lot of like you said, you've dealt with a lot of like civil suits. You've dealt with like the business sides of things before, and that ties into wrestling. And then, fashion and gear and aesthetic all intertwines into the performance aspect. I know obviously early on your wrestling persona was inspired by the famous Elle Woods. You wore a lot of pink. You've since taken on a little bit of a darker, edgier look since then. You've also filled in some of your tattoos since you debuted. We'll talk about those a little bit later. But in the current landscape, in your current form, what would you say are your go-to sources of inspiration when you're crafting and envisioning your ring gear and aesthetic today for Journey Burke?
So I still take a lot from Elle Woods.
Okay.
I describe myself as more of a punk Elle Woods.
Yeah.
So I am I mean, I've always been an emo kid.
Yeah.
Bar none. Like there was no phase. It's still here. It's still there. It's still right in the forefront. My favorite band in the whole wide world has been
Fall
Fall
Out
Out Boy since I
Boy.
was,
Yep.
yeah, since I was 10 years old. So that has never changed. That surprisingly, I do not have a Fall Out Boy tattoo yet, but that is one that we will be getting. I just have to, it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
So very much a punk Elle Wood. So something that I like to look at is suits. A lot of my gear will emulate a suit.
Yeah.
So obviously the pink gear was for the pink suit from Elle Woods. My current black gear is also a suit. I just had a new set of gear made by Burke Design. She crushed it. I don't know when I'll be debuting that, but so far it's my favorite set of gear. It's another suit, but that one was more inspired by like a cheerleading outfit type thing because I was also a cheerleader back in the day. So kind of just there's a lot of things that go into it, but just taking a lot of the girly pop things that I like and making them emo, kind of brings it back into my world and makes it a little bit more me rather than me trying to be a valley girl. which
Yeah.
is doing with the pink.
You could be both, be a Valley Girl, punk, emo kid. Like you have
Yeah.
the creative freedom to be whatever. This is kind of a technical question, but I'm curious because I feel like suits a lot of time are like made of thicker material and maybe like not that breathable. How is it like, is your fabric for your gear like functional and like breathable, or is it like also thick like suit material? Like, are you able to move and breathe in it, I hope?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, I think all of the material that I have is spandex or some type of four-way stretch material that
Mhm.
will, move and stay. So the first person I got my gear from was Daryl Apparel. So she does a lot of wrestling gear.
Yeah.
Um, the second person I got my gear from was Closet Champion, and they worked a lot with burlesque dancers. So she was like, I know how to make this stuff stay. It's not going anywhere. I was like, yes, that's what I needed. And then as I transitioned into this new set of gear that I was talking about, I was
Mhm.
thinking back to like my cheerleading days and thinking like, well, those were also not the most comfortable outfits. They were very, very thick. A lot of them have long sleeves, and you're, just being a crazy
Yeah.
person around in long sleeves, you just feel like you're gonna pass out. So I was like, I like the look of them, I like the structure of them, but maybe we can kind of combine the structure with something that's a little bit more functional for wrestling. So yeah, really excited for people to see that one, but I don't know when.
Can you give us a little teaser of maybe the color scheme or vibes?
Well, it's on her Instagram, so it's a purple
Okay.
suit. Yeah, it's purple and black and has a lot of bling on it. Purple, black, and white, I think. Um,
Ooh,
I keep looking over here because it's hanging in my closet.
got
Uh,
it.
but and I'm trying to make sure that I get it right. And yeah, lots of studs, lots of like silver accents. Like it's so
I'm all here for the bling.
yes, she did such a good job. I'm so excited.
Now, obviously, you're also a fan of wrestling, so I'm sure you've seen the landscape, maybe taken some inspo from other wrestlers. Who do you think has the best ring gear game or aesthetic today in a landscape?
I mean, sometimes it feels like a cop out to say Rhea Ripley, but like she's my mommy too. So
Hmm.
so I have to say Rhea because also like I know that I follow her gear designer or gear maker on Instagram,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. I guess going back to our first question, that's something I'd like to manifest is having a set of gear made by Wicked Lester. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, so I love like the leather look. I love the chains. I love the studs. I love everything about it. But also Natty, because I know Natty gets some of her gear done by her as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and Tiffany Stratton. Like combine all of those three into just one is like my ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also like I feel like Natalia's kind of a mix of Rhea and Tiffany because she's got the pink, but she also has done like leather and chains and like all this stuff. So like I feel like she's like common ground for both of them. And you're also kind of the same because like you said, you're kind of like punk emo Elle Woods. So I can definitely see that. I feel like another person who a lot of people look to is someone who you have some commonalities with as a belt collector is Mercedes Monet. And I know you've pointed to her as an early dream match. So tell me more about your love for the CEO.
Oh my gosh. So I love to tell this story because it's one of my favorites. When I first started watching wrestling, I was only watching SmackDown. So like I didn't really know much
Same.
thing. Yeah.
Many years earlier, but I also only watched SmackDown for a while. Yes, same.
Yeah. And so I started watching, like you said earlier, January of 2020. So like crowds were still there for like 2 weeks. um, but I saw Sasha Banks at the time make her entrance, and it was like the most amazing thing I had seen. Like I hadn't even really seen her wrestle yet, but I was just like, holy crap, like this is star power. This is amazing. Like I am sucked in right away. And then when I saw her wrestle, she was kind of the person that I was looking at, like, oh, this is a lot like cheerleading. Like a lot
Yeah.
of these moves are things that I like are reminding me of like drills that we used to do or other techniques that I used to use. So like for basing for people, throwing people in the air, picking people up. We didn't really throw them down in cheerleading, but you know, you can figure that part out
Yeah.
after the fact. So I was like, yeah, this is like okay, like this is really cool. And just her talent level was like obvious. And I didn't even know, all about the Four Horsewomen or anything like that at the time. So I was just like, Sasha Banks is the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I want to be just like her in her aura, in like everything. And again, her gear at the time was like the same type of, strappy gear, just different types of colors and whatnot. So watching her and like just seeing a lot of the women who were gorgeous, obviously, but extremely talented. Because I knew ish about the Attitude Era and how they treated women and things like
Yeah.
that. So, seeing that the women could actually were being allowed to wrestle was something that was really cool. And just like Sasha was the first one that I really saw, and now Mercedes, just getting to watch her on TV again is so exciting because she's on the run of her life, and I love it. So haters gonna hate, but I love it.
Dare I say that every CEO needs a good lawyer?
You do dare say that because I would say it also. Yes. So it's hilarious because we have like this faction that's called the Wild LLC that I'm a part of, and
Yes.
I am the corporate lawyer for our faction. So every CEO needs a good lawyer. You know, every every other professional needs a good lawyer, I would say. But
I
but
agree.
especially a CEO. Yeah.
Mhm. And you're
Fearless.
both belt collectors, so you have some commonalities there. But since we're on the topic of belt collecting, one of those belts is the BCW Tag, which you've held alongside Emily Jaye for over a year now, I believe, like just over a year.
Yep.
From what I understand, you and Emily weren't always on the same page. You kind of came together on a not spontaneous, but it wasn't planned per se. But you guys have definitely made it work and have held your own since then. So tell me more about your partnership with Emily and working with her for over a year now.
Oh my God. I love Emily. I'm obsessed. She so we first met at BCW when we wrestled each other. And at the time that was one of my favorite matches that I ever
Yeah.
had. Because I felt like we worked so well together, and I think that it was just a lot of fun. And early on in my career as I was just wanting to have a good match. Like that's all I really wanted was the bare minimum. Like let's just have a good match. And we were on the exact same page. And she's improved as well for the last couple years. And as soon as we learned that we were going to be put in a tag together, we were kind of like, okay, I mean, we'll make it work. Whatever you guys need us to do, we're both professionals, we're both workers. Um, peeling back the curtain obviously a little bit, but so we were put in the same faction, and then we were put in a tag team together, and we didn't have a name obviously because we weren't a tag team. So we were just trying to like rack our brains and think of like what the heck can we be called, like what would our finishing move be called. And it was all the same day that one of the other producers for BCW, and I think the social media manager, Mark, he was the one I think who came up with Stunning Law.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, we're about to go off the curtain, so we don't really have any other choice. We're going with it. People liked it, so I'm really happy that people liked it. And I think the more that we work together, like we just have similar mindsets in terms of what we want to get out of matches. We understand what our roles are, and we just love wrestling. Like that's really the core of it, because like I think a lot of people will look at certain women on the indies and say, oh well, they're just there to look pretty, or it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. But a lot of these girls love wrestling and have such a passion for it, and will do anything to succeed, and will take crazy bumps. And I'm like, how can you look at them and say things like that? No. So I will defend Emily to the death. Not that not that there's any hate out there or any drama or anything, but
No, because I'm also saying that that's my girly pop. Yeah.
love you, baby. But
I
yeah,
think
I love working with Emily.
I think ironically you two made your pro debuts about a month apart too, because hers was September 2022. Whereas yours that October, I think.
So I technically call it December of 22.
Okay.
I had a battle royal, I think, in like October, November,
Got
but
it.
it was just like, I was on ring crew and they said, "Hey, you want to be in there?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Fair enough.
But my singles debut was December of 2022.
Got
So
it.
I think on Cage Match it does say that though,
Yeah.
that I
Still
debuted.
fairly close though. You two have
Yeah,
kind
very.
of come up and grown together, and learning from each other and bouncing off of each other. And now it has blossomed into an over a year long title reign. Your next challenge is obviously coming up at the end of the month against the Major League Blondes at BCW Queen of the North 6. You will be defending your BCW Tag Team Championships. What are your thoughts heading into this against JC Storm and Nahir Robles?
I am extremely excited for this match. I mean, it's SummerSlam weekend. SummerSlam's in
Yes.
Jersey. So hopefully everybody's going to come out and come see us. Um, but I love watching the Major League Blondes. They are very creative. They are just wonderful humans. So to be able to work with them is very exciting because I know that we could put together something very, very cool. And Nair and JC are also of similar mindsets of like, people might look at you and say, "Oh, you're not really like here for wrestling," but they'll mess you up. Like they hit hard. So we're gonna have like a really cool match, a really entertaining match, and a really hard hitting match because that's what all four of us are gonna want. So certainly we hope that we retain the belts. But if we have to lose them, it I could definitely see Niger and JC taking them all the way for sure.
We're manifesting only positive. You're going to retain Journey.
Yes, retain and be forever BCW tag champs.
Once you lose, you better sue and get those titles back. That is your work your magic. If in the event that ever happens, I don't think it will, but you always have that in your back pocket. There's loopholes for everything. I'm just
I
saying.
know. That's why everybody keeps giving me their belts because they know I'll just come after them anyway. So
That's smart.
yes,
They're
yes.
smart people.
Just
Um, a more recent match that you've had was at Warped Tour, which is again kind of full circle for you. I believe my good friend, I don't know if it was the same one, but I know Samira, who's also a regular at BCW, was ring announcing for a Warped Tour event too. It's ironic you mentioned your favorite band is Fall Out Boy. They're like a icons of Warped Tour and the punk rock scene. What was your experience like wrestling at a Warped Tour event?
that was so cool. Shout out to Samira because she's also the best. My Alani girly. We always have our Alanis together at shows. But I was there on the second day, so I didn't get to see Samira. I was sad. But it was so cool. I mean, like the people who are there are just the kinds of people that I grew up and looked at and was like, "You guys are so cool." And now I'm like standing in front of these people and they're the ones watching me, like
Yeah,
in the crowd, and I'm just like, holy crap, like this is so cool. And like there were people of all ages there, which was also really cool because, me as a young emo girl didn't really feel like there were a lot of people who shared my interests until I got older. So seeing all these kids being able to interact with the bands and the wrestlers and everybody being so nice and um, attentive really was very cool because we were wrestling at the same time that a lot of bands were playing. So I felt a little conflicted because I wanted, the bands to get the attention, but I wanted us to get
of
attention
course.
too. Um, but my match, I was wrestling Mike Skyros, and that is also one of my more recent favorite matches
Yeah.
because I felt like it really pushed the boundaries of what I was able to do. And it just was in such a cool environment where nobody was like, "Oh, intergender wrestling, what's this?" Because we really only had positive feedback about it. Even like, the older guys who only watched WWE and didn't know anything about the independent scene, they would come up and they were talking to me and they're just like, "Wow, this is so cool. I didn't know this was here." Like, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we made a lot of new fans. But that was a really cool experience, and I don't, I haven't felt anything like it. But hopefully we will find some more experiences like that on bigger stages.
Did you get to watch any of the bands perform before or after you wrestled?
I did. During the show, we were semi-main, so I could
Okay.
watch.
Oh
The
yeah,
rest,
you had time. Yeah.
yeah, it was a good time. And then there were bands inside later that night, but I was just not feeling super great after being there all day.
Hmm.
Really took a toll on me because I ain't as young as I used to be. So I did not stay afterwards to watch the bands, but I know that they did some crazy stuff there. Um, Wrestlers were diving off the stage. They were having a match during the bands. It was nuts. So I love seeing the clips of that. I wish I could have seen it live because that was really cool.
Yeah, I love the mix of music and wrestling. It's always, it seems like it's such a fun time, fun environment and everything. Everybody's just having a blast.
Yeah, it really is because I mean, when you think of the entertainment industry, we're all trying to do the same thing,
Yeah.
right? The different medium. So the folks in the bands, they're expressing themselves through their music, and then us with wrestling, we're expressing ourselves, through the stories that we're telling. So it's really cool to just have a lot of different artistic mediums that you can pull from and that people can enjoy all at the same time.
Now, I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little Fallout Boy. Obviously, you are an emo kid at heart. You are a Fallout Boy lover. Still don't have that tattoo. That's okay. It's a work in progress. When did your love for Fallout Boy begin? What are your early memories?
So the first song I heard was Sugar We're Going Down, very much like a lot of folks. I
Yeah.
was about 10 years old, and my brother had From Under the Cork Tree. And he was also an emo kid. He was a skater boy. So we had a big garage, and he would just skate in the garage, and he would listen to From Under the Cork Tree. And I was also like trying to be like really punk and cool. And I tried to learn how to skateboard. I was very bad at it. So there will be no skateboarding journey ever.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but like not anytime soon.
Hmm.
Uh, so I would just listen to a lot of his music, and he was kind of the one who introduced me to Fall Out Boy. And he was like, he kind of noticed that I just really, really liked this CD. And he was like, you know what, you can have it. And I was like, all right. And I just played it on repeat, like dead stop, like never put anything else in my CD player ever again. And again, it was another thing that I just became obsessed with. It was, I wanted to learn everything about them. I got their older CDs. As soon as their next CD came out, I got that. Like when I was in elementary school, I had like a wristband that said like a thick one, like not just like a like stretchy rubber one, like one of
Yeah.
those like brick ones. I had a Fall Out Boy wristband, and I wore it every single day without fail. So like all of the people in my elementary school and then like leading up to middle school, they just knew me as like the girl who loves Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
And I think probably still to this day, like anytime someone mentions Fall Out Boy, I'm like the first thing that pops into people's heads. Like I've had people tell me that, and it's flattering, quite frankly, because I'm a ride or die kind of gal. So, I just shows my loyalty, I guess. But yeah, so then one of the first concerts I ever got to go to, I was in, I think it was sixth grade. I can't remember if it was like right after fifth grade or if it was right after sixth
Hmm.
grade. Got to see Fall Out Boy. My dad took me, and it was like I had the time of my life. And I like was dancing and jumping around. I was screaming and like trying to record things on my tiny little cell phone, back in the
Yeah.
day. And there I always like it's always hilarious to me because I'm having such a good time, like just jumping around, losing my mind, and I like accidentally punch my dad in the face. And he's just like, yeah, you're good, keep going. And I'm like stepping on his toes. He's like, I don't care. And I'm like, this is so cool. And like I called my sister when we were done with the concert because like we also would do the thing where like I would call her and she would let it go to voicemail, and I would just like play the song for her that they were playing live. And I still do that if I go to a Fall Out Boy concert. We still do that. But yeah, so I like call her afterwards. My voice is shot. It is gone. I'm like, that was so much fun. I had the best time of my life. I can't say that. Like it was so much fun. And like I've always said that like the closest thing to a religious experience I've ever had was like going to concerts. Not necessarily Fall Out Boy concerts, but
Yeah.
in particular Fall Out Boy concerts. Because it's
I
just
love concerts. They're
so
like
good.
such a they're a magical experience. Like and then the post concert blues are so real though. I'm like I want to go back.
Like it's like you're I it's the one way that like you can be present and you're like, okay, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like
Yeah.
this, I don't have to do anything else but listen to this
Yeah.
music and like scream my lungs
They make
out.
you feel like wrestling, it makes you feel, you know,
Exactly. Exactly.
it's an
So
immersive experience.
yeah, all kinds of art. We love it. We love it.
Now, what would you say are your top 3 to 5 FOB songs?
My okay, so top two, and these always like go in between. Well, no,
Okay.
one. I always forget this, but like number one is Save Rock and Roll, because that is the tattoo that I'm gonna get. Is you are what you love, not who loves you,
Yeah.
and that's just my favorite lyric of all time ever, like bar none. And from like senior year of high school up until literally last year, that was my like phone screen, my lock screen. It was is that quote. So it took a lot to get that quote off my phone screen,
What
but
is
it's
your
gone.
phone screen now?
Now it's my boyfriend. So so fair enough. But
That's how you know it's real. The
exactly.
love is real.
You replaced Fall Out Boy on my phone screen, so you better know you're special.
Yeah.
But yeah, so number one is Save Rock and Roll. That is my favorite song ever in the history of songs and music that's ever been made. And then tied for second is between Sophomore Slump or Comeback of the Year and Where's Your Boy? Because those are just very nostalgic songs for me. And like Sophomore Slump was just one of like one of the favorite songs that I just listened to on repeat for hours on end when I had From Under the Cork Tree. Um, and then let's see, so that's three. I really, really like Hum Hallelujah is another good one. Because I'm a lyric girly, so I love the lyrics of that one. It's in my head all the time. Um, and Thanks for the Memories, because that was another one of my favorites.
Classic.
Yeah, of course. Which again, I was so mad, like, because I just thought I was, the peak of taste, and just nobody could be like me. When Infinity on High came out and I started listening to it, their first um I can't remember. Well, anyways, but it was like before Thanks for the Memories got big, and I was like, oh man, like Thanks for the Memories is my favorite song off of this album. And then they released it as a single, and I was like, yeah.
Right? It's like you
And I was
want
like,
it all to yourself.
yeah. And I was
I
like,
get
oh,
it.
everybody's gonna think I'm a poser. Like they just think I like
Oh, yeah.
memories because it's on the radio and blow. And I'm like, I don't care about that anymore. Like I'm gonna like what I like. So, but
The
back in
people.
middle school emo me, I
Yeah.
always had to be different. We'll say.
I get it. You like what you like. I back then though, middle school, like I get it. Like I mean, I know you weren't back then, but like I hid that I was a wrestling fan because I cared so much about like what other people thought about it, and like that's a whole other thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, a lot of people
but yeah,
do. Yeah.
2 more questions for you. You obviously mentioned your tattoos. You don't have your Fall Out Boy one yet, but you have this beautiful like kind of snake that also looks like a vine with flowers on it. I know it was like more minimal a couple years ago. I think you filled it in the last couple of years. Tell me more about the story behind that one that's on your arm.
Yeah, so this is kind of always what I wanted it to be.
Yeah,
I just didn't really have the time or the money or the patience
fair.
to sit to do it all at once.
All at once, yeah.
Yeah. So the initial idea I came to me in the form of a Pinterest photo. Excuse me. And I saw this photo of a snake that was kind of chopped up like this and was like sprouting flowers.
Hmm.
Um, and I studied history in undergrad, so I'm a huge history nerd. And something that was always very striking to me was the symbolism of the snake. So nowadays, most people in like Western countries and more Christian centered countries think of a snake as like evil, bad, sign of the devil, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Adam and Eve, serpent.
Yeah, temptation, yeah.
Right. So before Christianity took kind of its hold on the Western world, snakes were a symbol of like good things. They were a symbol of good luck. They were a symbol of smarts. They were a symbol of like very connected to women and fertility and rebirth, because they would, shed their skin and all that. And that's why, the symbol for like doctors is the snake wrapped around, I don't know what it's called because I'm not a doctor, but the thing, you'd know
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was. So snakes used to have a really good and lucky connotation before Christianity took hold. And so I always thought that was so interesting, especially because of the way that women are treated in society and that symbolism, so things like, so it was a good sign, it was connected with women, and then all of a sudden it was like a sign of the devil. So, that's just my take on things. People can do their own research, but so I don't like particularly like snakes. Like they're here, they do their thing. I'm not gonna have a pet snake or anything, but I love the symbolism, the old symbolism behind them. And again, another history thing was the old Join or Die political cartoon that everybody learns about in high school,
Yeah.
for the American Revolution. A little chopped up snake, basically saying that if you don't have all parts of the snake, you're all going to die, or you're not going to survive. And in connecting that in my brain with the symbolism of the snake being for women, I kind of thought of the broken up snake as more of like a women's revolution type of sentiment, to where a lot of women have to join together, all kinds of women have to join together, we all have to support each other, whether you were born a woman or not, or whether it doesn't matter. So that was the cut up snake part, is really part of just making sure that if we have a women's revolution, we all have to do it together. And it's kind of ironic now in terms of like women's revolution in wrestling terms.
Yeah.
It still fits. And then the flowers were obviously to add some more feminine energy into there, and just show the life that women bring to the world. And a lot of the flowers, some of the flowers do have certain symbolism in them. Like these up here are forget-me-nots. Those are for my mom. And then the like gardeny type flowers, I just really like the wildflower aspect of things, of just letting things grow naturally and just be themselves wherever they are. So they're like, it's a very long-winded explanation of this tattoo, but I love it, and it's very special to me, so I love sharing the story of it
It's
as
very
well.
thoughtful. Yeah, there's multiple layers to it, and you can always, it's a great spot too. It looks really cool also like aesthetically, and I feel like it fits with you too. Now, I know you had the early portions a couple years ago. Did you get that first or the hands on your arm first?
Yeah, this one was my first one actually.
Okay.
um so this also, back in my Tumblr days, was
Yeah,
another, yeah, I had,
I was a Tumblr girly too.
yeah, yes, we like, that's how you know that you're trustworthy, is you were Tumblr girly. But the uh for like my Tumblr, the header for a long time was the hand symbols for peace, love, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
They were just hands, they weren't the skeleton hands. But I always just loved, again, the idea of like unity and being and connecting with other people as human beings, in that these are all things that we can understand, of like peace, love, music generally, but rock and roll specifically for me. And then skeleton hands, because again, like unity, we're all the same on the inside. So that's what this one means to me,
Yeah.
and it's just cool as heck. So
They are badass too.
yeah,
You are that badass Elle Woods. Absolutely.
yeah.
Um, Final question, you've had an incredible life, my friend, from dreaming about fashion to becoming a lawyer to now a wrestler. How do you think you've grown as a person and as a competitor in the last, I guess, 3 years then, since you've done your training and made your pro debut and everything?
Um, well, as a person, there has been a lot of therapy behind the scenes. There's been a lot of personal work.
We're here for self-improvement.
Yes, we love it. Everybody, if you have access or find a way to get access and you feel like you should do it, you need to do it. But yeah, so a lot of a lot of therapy went into my personal growth because like I mentioned earlier in the interview, a lot of my identity was tied into being the smart kid, being a lawyer, and my productivity. And so I had pushed aside a lot, pretty much all of my creative pursuits as I was growing up because it was just not something that was going to make me money. So I
Yeah.
always thought like, I'm so smart, I have to do something smart. Like that's it. And for a while I did like lawyering. But as I got older and got more into wrestling, the creative bubble was just like gonna burst inside of me because I just had wrestling was my first outlet in a very long time for all of the creativity that I had in myself. And I kind of just dulled it down so much that I never thought of myself as a creative person anymore. And so through a lot of self-discovery, in particular through wrestling, I just was like, you know what? I am a creative person. I can do creative things. It might look different than the other creative people that I look up to or that I take from. But like I said, as a kid, I wanted to do fashion design. Um, Growing up, I loved music. I played the flute, I played the piano, I sang, and all of those things were just like it was I felt the happiest when I did those things. And cheerleading as well. I really felt happy with cheerleading because it was another type of performance. Because um, I did competitive cheerleading, so it was a lot of the art of competitive cheerleading is putting together a routine, dancing, gymnastics, stunts, all of that stuff. So like, but I had just kind of, like I said, dampened all of those things in pursuit of being a lawyer because as they say in Legally Blonde, you can't be all those things and be a lawyer. Like
Yeah.
it's just lawyering is for people who are boring and ugly and serious. So I was just like, okay, I got to be boring and ugly and serious, and that's how I'm going to do things. And I never really took that to heart until I like realized that I had been internalizing that for so long. Um, and then being able to express myself through wrestling was kind of the tipping point of like, okay, yeah, I need something a little bit more. I need to go back to my creative roots. I need to be able to express myself in a lot of different ways that I feel like I can't because of my job. Um, so that was a lot of personal growth as in the last 3 years is just embracing creativity again, finding what makes me the happiest just in my day-to-day life. And then as a competitor, definitely understanding that creative aspect and how I can bring it out in my character and through my gear, through the matches that I want to have, through my move set. Because a lot of the time when I started, I was just like, okay, this is like we have the structure of the match. This is how we're going to do it. These are my moves that I do. And, we're going to have a basic match and that's going to be it. And
Yeah.
I'll run and people will cheer for me because I'm new or whatever. Um, but now as I get to know my audience a little bit better, we gotta throw them some curveballs. We gotta keep them interested.
Yeah.
So just thinking of more ideas that I can incorporate into my character and just trying things and not worrying about how like whether they're perfect or whether they're gonna get the pop that I want. That's been super helpful in the last few years and just not taking myself so seriously because like I don't know if you guys know this, but
Yeah. That's the first
uh,
time I'm hearing this. I had
that's
no
great. I
idea.
know. Breaking news right here on WrestleZone. But it's been super helpful to just kind of step back and be like, all right, it's not that serious. We're gonna have fun and we're gonna try things. And if it doesn't work, then we won't do it next time. That's
Well,
it.
that's the beauty of independent wrestling. You have that barring match results, you don't really pick the outcome, but everything else in between, you have that creative freedom to experiment. If something doesn't go over, hey, you tried something new and you move on to something else. You can incorporate all these different ideas into your moves, the psychology, the emotions, the storytelling, your gear, your hair, your makeup. There's so many beautiful aspects to it. Like you said, creative avenues that you can incorporate into it, plus mixing in the maybe athletic part in cheerleading. and it's in more breathable fabric. So that's another plus.
Unless you're
So
outside in August or July and then you're dying anyway,
that's
but
fair. That's fair. But we're halfway through July right now. We can only hope that it gets a little bit better weather-wise.
only from here. We're
But other
manifesting.
than that, yeah, other than that, sounds like you're having a blast, and that's
Yeah,
all we can ever hope for.
yeah,
Um, you
exactly.
mentioned obviously you're going to be focusing more on content creation. Before we let you go, please let the people know where they can find you online and follow your content.
Yeah, I'm on all the major socials. Facebook is, I think you just search up Journey Burke and she's
Yeah.
there. Instagram is Journey Burke PW, and then Twitter is Journey Burke. I don't know, wait. I don't even know my own socials. I
Okay.
don't know if there's an ESQ. I don't think there is. Yeah, just Journey Burke on Twitter. And then TikTok is something I'm putting a lot more effort into recently. And that is also Journey Burke PW for pro wrestler. So if you want to find me on all of those things, interact with me, I would love that. I'm horrible with DMs and I probably won't see them because sometimes they get just, get pushed away. But I appreciate any follows, any comments, any likes, all of those things. They really, really help out with getting more exposure and just, feeling like I'm connected with the people that want to see me and get a cool audience, get a cool little fam together.
Well, if you want to see her too, she has some title defenses coming up at BCW and Pro Wrestling Magic, I believe back-to-back weekends. So stay tuned for that on all her socials. Journey, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me.